All right, we ready? All right, we're ready. All right. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Um, First, I just want to say thank you guys for coming. For everybody who's here and everybody who's watching online, thank you. Um, my name is Detective George Duarte. I work for the Providence Police Department. I've been working in Providence for about 22 years, and before I became a police officer, I was a correctional officer. I worked about 11 years at the state prison, the ACI up there in Cranston. Um, I work for the Providence Police Department, SVU, like you see on TV, Special Victims Unit. That's my unit. I've been a detective for 13 years, and I started working with SVU in 2015. So for about 10 years, I've been doing this stuff. At the same time, my main job in Providence, I work for the FBI. Also, I've been assigned to a unit with the FBI since 2015, and in 2018, I kind of went full-time with them. So I would share my time a couple days with Providence and then a few days with the government during the week. Mondays and Fridays in Providence, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with the government. So I'm attached to this unit, and it's called VCAC HTTF Task Force. The FBI likes using a bunch of letters for whatever reason, right? But what all that means is Violent Crimes Against Children Human Trafficking Task Force. That's what I do full-time. I'm a human trafficking investigator, and I do human trafficking recovery. But I started doing elders, same thing. I became the senior advocate in Providence because nobody else was doing it. So now, 2018, I went away to this training with the Department of Justice with a team, and they trained us all in how to train folks in how to be safe in the internet, how to fight these scams and all this stuff that's going on, and just we handle any kind of abuse that affects our elder community, all right? So that's all that stuff. So what are the objectives? When we're done today, and I'm going to tell you, you guys are going to know. You guys are here. I'm happy for you because you're going to get the information right from me. And when we're done here, you guys are going to know probably more than 99% of the population knows about these scams and stuff like that. And not because I'm a great presenter or the information's so great. It's just that we just don't have a lot of awareness out there. People really don't know what we get these phone calls and these different things, but you really don't know how they originate. And even for trained professionals, we get trained professionals that still fall into these scams, and we'll go through some of that. So I did this, I made this up and because I felt some of these things were important. And some of the things that I try to do with this training is when we're done today, you guys are going to know what the current trends and tactics are by these scammers. You're going to know what they're doing today to try to get your money, what they're doing today to try to get your personal information, all right? And then the number one thing is I'm going to show you how to avoid being a victim of scams and fraud, right? That's the number one thing. And also, if you are a victim of a scam or any kind of fraud, a lot of times people don't know how to report it. They're like, what do I do? Do I call local police? Do I call the state police? You don't know. So some of those documents I gave you guys, those handouts, will address that. Oh, well, you need one. All right, I'll get you one. So it'll address that. It'll address those issues. It'll tell you who to contact and how to report. It'll also, there's some different things I'm going to show you to keep yourself safe as far as how to protect your credit and stuff like that. I'll show you how to do that really quick. And okay, you're welcome. So we'll get through some of that. The number one thing for me is I try to empower our elder community through education. The more educated we are, the more we can protect ourselves, right? All right. So this is the first thing we're going to talk about. So everybody here has cell phones, right? How many of you guys got maybe a text or something from UPS or from something this week saying you had a package coming, right? We all got them, right? We all get them. So this right here, this was mine. This was from me 2 days ago. I always try to put something up to date. I got one. And I do this fraud, I do this stuff all the time. And look, they're trying to get me, right? They're going to tell you, look, we missed you had a scheduled delivery. We missed it and this stuff. If you want to get, your package, you got to kind of log in. All this is, or any kind of alerts like this, all this stuff is, it's what we call phishing, right? They're phishing. They're trying to get you. And because of stuff like this and the kind of fraud that we see, this is a $12.5 billion business. That's how much was lost last year in 2024. $12.5 billion. That's a lot of money, right? So that's why these people, you think you say, why would they really go on the internet and try to find my information? Are they really going to dig to try to find this stuff that's out there on me? Yes, they will, because it's so profitable. right? And a lot of this stuff you can do anonymously, right? If you can make $1 million anonymously, even if you're stealing it, it's worth the effort, right? So they're gonna do that. So just know when you start to get these things on your phone and stuff like that, know what we call it phishing, right? And what the phishing is, the hook is that text. They send that text out, that's the hook. The bait on the hook is them telling you, if you don't do this, you're gonna get a warrant, you're gonna get a fine. That's just the bait to get you to bite. And then once you bite and you give your personal information, we'll go a little bit further, you see what they do with that information, all right? So phishing and mail scams. In Providence, we get a huge issue. And one thing, I live here in Fairhaven, but I work in Providence. So this is my community that I live in. So I drive around and I try to look for things. And Fairhaven does a pretty good job with their mailboxes. Those blue bins that we all put our mail in, Fairhavens, if you notice, if you go to the post office, it only opens partial, right? In Providence, those things would open. And what they would literally do is they'd go fishing. They'd get a string, sticky substance, throw the thing in the barrel, and they were getting mail, and they were stealing people's mails. You pay your bills and you put a check in the mail. They were stealing those things, they were looking for bills, and then they were duplicating your check. In Providence, this was a huge, huge issue for us. That's why I'm out here. So what they're gonna try to fish for, when you get those emails, they want some of your identifiers. They want your date of birth, they want your social security number, the last 4, very important to them. And of course, your phone number and all this stuff. Credit card details are important, and login details. That password, don't give your password to anything, to anybody, because you might get a message like this that says your password needs to be reset. Unless you initiated some kind of action on that account, it's fraud, all right? We're not gonna do that. So I'm gonna tell you the #1 trick they're gonna use with this, they want your last 4 digits of your social security number. No, that is gold. If I get that, I can get a mortgage in your name, right? And we'll go through some of that. A lot of times your emails, watch it too, because they'll have an attachment there, you click on it, and now it'll strip all your information out of your device, all right? Updating passwords, we talked about that. Don't update your passwords unless you're initiating it. You want to do it. This is the other thing, responding to social media, friends or contacts. How many of you guys on social media? I'm on Facebook, I'm on social media. I'm a social media guy. You get these requests from people and you're like, who is this person, right? They got one friend. Don't fall for that stuff. Or you get a picture of your friend, but you're like, wait, I'm already friends with this person. Why am I getting another one? It's because they got hacked. They got phished and hacked, and now they're trying to drag you in. So watch social media. And I don't always practice what I preach, but connecting to new Wi-Fi spots. I just connected to Wi-Fi here. I trust this place. However, sometimes you go out to eat or something. Some people do that. They sit in a coffee shop and they'll go online. Don't do that. You do that unless you have what they call a VPN, something that can protect your account. You're opening yourself up to these scammers. And again, I knew guys that would just walk around with a device on them. And you see the commercials now. I love it. They're showing commercials with this, and they can pass by your bag. And if they pass by your bag, it'll scan your credit cards. Any credit cards that are in your wallets that aren't protected can be scanned. So if you look at my phone, this phone has this thing in the back. This thing is made to stop those scanners. I have one in there, right? That's the way this case is designed. You buy it on Amazon. But you can also buy 2 little cards that you can stick, one in the back. If your credit card's here, put one in front of it, one behind it. So they can't pull your info, right? We'll talk a little bit more about that, all right? So those are things you can do to protect yourself. So just know the stuff you're getting now on your phone, those texts and all that stuff, that's phishing. They're phishing. They're trying to get you to take the bait, and then they're gonna have you, all right? And beware. This is something, this is very important. Like, who are your financial abusers? Who's gonna try to take advantage of you? Out in Providence right now, my buddy, I had a partner just retired recently, but between the 2 of us, we worked SVU. We did more like we had a lot of serial like rapist cases, serial predators that were out there, breaking into people's houses and doing all that stuff. And we had more of those cases than anybody out there that was investigating them. And what we found is we all think if somebody climbs through your window, you're thinking it's like Jack the Ripper out there, right? Or some crazy guy lurking in the darkness and laying prey to people. But what we find by statistic and by study is that it's not. Those kind of cases, more than likely the perpetrator is going to be somebody who's known to you, somebody that knows you, somebody like you're here. You might not know them, but you're here and they might see you, and now they know you. It's not going to be the perfect stranger, right? And that's the same thing with this fraud stuff. This fraud stuff, sometimes it's that guy from another country calling you over the phone. But when we go in, I'll tell you that I've investigated this stuff at a federal level, and these are local people, all right? So just know that who is going to abuse you? Sometimes it's your family. Sometimes it's a friend. Sometimes a neighbor that lived down your street for 30 years. I've just had a case like that. Sometimes a caregiver, somebody whose job is to protect you, right? Or a guardian. And then sometimes it's that stranger or that telemarketer, somebody going door to door. A big thing going on right now is roof repair. You guys, they're going to start coming because winter, after the summer comes winter, watching the fall, a lot of oil companies, if you get oil, they have not the good ones, the bad ones. What they're doing is there's companies that'll come to your house if you're a customer of theirs, you buy oil. And they're going to ask you, they're going to say, hey, you get a free roof inspection and chimney inspection with your oil, your service with us. And they may send a private company over to your house. They're going to go up there. They're going to look at your chimney. And, of course, they're going to come down saying you need this, 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 right? So beware of that. That's the door-to-door sales type stuff or repair person. We had a huge cases. We had a group from Ireland. You might have seen in the news recently. They were in Providence, and they'd see an elder mowing the lawn. They'd come up to him and just say, hey, you look like your foundation looks cracked. You mind if we take a look at it? The person say, yeah. They say, well, you got minor damage. You might take this much to fix it. Some people are losing, they went $80,000, $100,000 in loss because these people going door to door, all right? So be cautious of that, all right? So, and when I tell you these things, it could be family members. I'm not telling you, like, don't trust your family, all right? I always have to say that because some people, I'm not going to trust my kids no more. That's not what I'm saying. I want you to be aware, right? We're not going to be paranoid. We're going to be aware. I just want these things in your mind that it could be it could be me, the police, it could be anybody. Yes?
People that come door to door and they say they're from college and they're earning things, is that a scam too?
Yes, don't tell them keep walking, all right? Whether it is or not, it's just, that's not where you want to donate your money. We got a lot of other things we can do that you can research yourself, and now you know exactly where your money's going. You got to take it from words. They get a cute kid to come to your door. You're like, oh, this cute kid, but behind that, that's what the Irish group was doing with the foundation stuff. They send a young man over there, you know, Irish accent, clean, dressed in a suit, and everybody believed them. They were the biggest scammers.
I'm too cheap.
That's okay. That's all right. And I don't.
If I want something, I'm going to go get it myself.
There you go. And that's okay, because that's going to protect you. So we'll get into each of the scams. And this one here, it's my son, Jace. So this type of scams that we're seeing in Providence is this grandparent scam. They went to town in Providence with this scam. All right, and how the scam works is you're going to have a suspect who poses as your grandchild or your niece or your nephew. And it's similar to phishing because what they're trying to get they're trying to get some information from you. So what they're going to do is you're going to get a call on the phone, and it's going to be a guy. And if you have a lot of grandchildren or nieces and nephews, and I'll give you a prime example. I had somebody I work with that knows I do this. The guy knows I do this all the time. And I try to educate my coworkers, but he fell victim to this. In our police station, he's in the building, he gets a call. And he says it's from his nephew. And he says, I have a bunch of nephews. He says, hello. He says, hey, uncle, it's me, it's your nephew. And he says, who, Louis? When he says Louis, the kid says, yes, it's me, it's Louis. So that's similar to what I'm saying in the phishing. When they want your last four digits of your social, they're going to say something like, isn't your last 4 digits 1, 2, 3, 4? And then you're going to say, no, it's not. It's 4, 5, 6, 7. Now they have it. You know what I mean? They're just going to get you to correct. It's called a corrective right here. So they'll try to get you a random name, hoping you will correct them. That's what they want, and that's what they want with this grandparent scam. They got my friend. He told him it was Louis. He believed it, and the story was, he says, Uncle, I hate to call you, but I'm driving to New York. I went over the bridge, and my car broke down. Once we were on the side of the road, the state police pulled up and said my plates weren't legal, and they're going to tow the car unless I can get the car. They're going to keep the car unless I can tow it to a garage. I need $1,500. So the uncle says, of course, Louis, of course. So the guy gives him instructions. Go to a supermarket or go to a store, buy some Western Union cards. Anybody, that's the key right now, can say, you hear Western Union, hang up the phone. All right? Hang up the phone, bam. Because that Western Union, you shouldn't, look, we got Zelle, we got Cash App, we got Venmo. If somebody needs money from you, we send it electronically now, right? We're not going to Western Union anymore. It's not the cowboy days. They're not doing that stuff anymore. So if you hear Western Union, no good, okay? We're not going to give them any money. But that's what happened to my buddy. His nephew asked for money. He sends him the money. But what they also do is they'll have somebody with them. They'll have two people. So he kind of like, Uncle, what? I got the trooper here. He wants to talk to. It's just the guy's buddy, and the trooper gets on the phone. Yes, sir. Thank you. We're going to tow the car. We're going to bring it to the garage, and everything is going to be great. So he says he sends the money. He's thinking he's helping his nephew, and then a short time later, he gets a call back from the same person. It's Lewis again. Look, Uncle, I'm in the garage now, and now they're telling me the car needs a little bit more work, so I'm going to need some more money. If you can send me another $1,500. When he asked him for the money again, that's when he knew he came to me. He said, George, I'm so embarrassed, but I think I got scammed. And he did. He got scammed, right? But like I said, just keep in mind, they're going to be they got all that time. So they got time to really work on these things.
Does anybody ever get their money back from these?
We do from time to time, but not very often. Because this is done in a way it's so untraceable. And unless you know who these guys are, and I'll get into that, I kind of figured out who these guys are.
Because I get phone calls, the common one I've been getting lately is, have you got your new Medicare card?
Right.
Of course, I know there is no such thing, and I just say, shame on you, this is a scam. And if I go on my caller ID or hit redial, call them back, that number's not in service.
That's true, right? There's so many ways to do, like I have a fake phone number too. So there's so many ways to do it. And that's how it's designed so that you're not going to be able to trace them, right? So we're going to watch a short video. This was a gentleman, local gentleman that was a victim of a scam.
Top 4 reasons why I got the Pro-Colored F13 DTF printer. Number 1, on-demand printing. No minute.
Can you guys see that?
NBC 10 response, a warning about a scam targeting grandparents.
Yeah,
you guys hear that?
It happens more and more during the holiday season, and now there's a new twist to this. NBC 10 response reporter Harry Hairston live in our newsroom with a look at how it all works, Harry.
Hey, listen, today authorities in our area announced charges against 2 local people. Cops say tried to commit the fraud. Now, it all begins with a phone call that your grandchild is in trouble and needs your help. Bucks County resident Michael Brown tells NBC 10 response his father got one of these convincing calls.
My son was in jail and needed $8,000, I believe the sum was at the time, to be released from jail.
He says the caller identified himself as an attorney and even knew the grandson's name.
He was about ready to start sending money because he cares about his grandkids.
Thankfully, the 87-year-old called his son before sending any cash, and he realized the call was a con.
It's dastardly. It's one of the worst things that I've seen out there. Certainly.
Michael Bannon, director of the Bucks County Office of Consumer Protection, tells us the grandparent scam tends to tick up this time of year.
It's an emotional scam. So when that scam happens, people react fast to it because they're thinking their grandchild is in trouble.
The Federal Trade Commission tells NBC 10 Response victims have lost $41 million to these calls in the past year. The fraudsters usually instruct victims to purchase gift cards, asking them to share the card's number over the phone. Now, a new trend. They're asking you to send cash through the mail. If you get an urgent call saying your loved one is in legal trouble and needs money, the FTC suggests don't act on the call, no matter how dramatic the story is. Call family members to see if your loved one is really in trouble.
Right.
Then contact police. If you've mailed cash, report it right away to the Postal Service or whichever shipping company you used. They may be able to stop the delivery before it's too late. Experts say have a plan in place before you get a call.
Hopefully they've talked about it in advance.
That's what we're doing now.
If you have a code word with your grandchild that you can share, that's great.
Yep.
Now listen, folks, an important thing to consider. Be careful what you're posting publicly on social media.
Yep.
You could be giving up a wealth of information about yourself and your loved ones. Law enforcement says police or the public defender's office will not call you asking for money.
Never.
Back to you guys.
All right, Harry, and if you have
So again, like I said, my buddy was a victim of this, and it was sad, you know, to know this happened to him. But and he lost money, not $8,000 like this gentleman, but it happens all the time. This is the common way they'll try to do it. Like time after time, it happens, and it's actually really sad. So we'll get into the next one. That was kind of the grandparent scam. But one of the ones you'll see a lot now is the romance scam. This is one I deal with a lot. But I just want to say, like, the romance scam, for me, it doesn't matter how old you are. Everybody's entitled to love, right? To find love. And even me, I'm a single guy. You know, we're all entitled. We all want to find love, companionship, and all of these things. Somebody to talk to, all this stuff. But in doing that, sometimes it just opens us up to you know, being taken advantage of. So some of the things you want to do, like I said, finding love is great. I think it's a great idea. I don't care how old you are. You should be doing what makes you happy. If you want to find love, find love. Just you need to be careful, because there are people that are out there that they know that you know, people are looking for companionship, and they're going to take advantage of that. So again, with another story, and I'll get into the romance scam stuff, but I like to add personal stories. So I had a coworker, another coworker. Right? These guys don't pay attention to me doing this stuff, but I had another coworker, really good police officer, worked for a long time, and then he retired. He retires, he takes a retirement job, he's investing his money and doing different things. He meets a woman on a dating site. The woman tells him she's an investor, a big-time investor. They start talking for months. For months, this woman's grooming him, never asking him for anything. You know, just they're in this relationship. But she's giving him advice on investing. So he's investing. She's telling him what sites to go to. He ends up investing in the site she tells him to. But what he ended up finding out later was it was all a scam. She wasn't who she was supposed to be. The investments he made wasn't. He actually could look on his laptop and he could see his money rising. So he's thinking, he's putting more and more money in there, thinking, oh my God, I can't believe this is working so well. But in the end, what ended up happening is he lost almost $300,000. He lost all the money he saved. He's working again. He's back in a uniform, working for another agency, but he's an older gentleman. And he had to go back to work. And it was all because of something that happened to him in a romance scam. And the worst part of it all is he's married. So this wasn't even, he wasn't even a single man. So he threw all this stuff, all his finances away for him and his spouse. So you got to be careful. So to protect yourself, we're doing some of that. We're trying to raise awareness, right? The other thing is you want to limit what you share online. If you're online, these scammers, they'll go right to your page. They'll know everything about you. You know, if you go to Facebook, you can hit about. It'll tell you where you go, where you hang out, who your relatives are, and then they start looking at your relatives' pages and they get a little bit more information on you. It's how they build that profile before they go to get you, all right? So be careful what you share online. And say you do meet somebody. Do your research on them. If I give you a picture of me, you can take my picture and put it into Google, and it'll show you everywhere my picture's been posted, that picture. And once you post that picture, you might see other people have already made complaints against this person. Say, oh, this person's a fraudster, this person's this and that. So just be cautious of, when you meet people new. Just make sure that you always look into them, because if they're scamming, no, they've looked into you. All right, so look into them. One of the tricks they'll use is they'll try to get you, if you're on a dating site, they'll try to get you to come off the dating site. They'll say, hey, why don't we communicate through WhatsApp or something like that. That's just a way, because once you go to WhatsApp, it's going to help them filter themselves and their identity. On a dating site, you got to put in some identifiers that could be used to identify you. But on WhatsApp, that's made to be anonymous. So they're going to ask you to go to another site. Don't leave the dating site. Also, listen to your stomach. I tell my son, he's just in here, I tell him all the time, if something sounds too good to be true, you're like, that's amazing. How can it be that way? It's too good to be true. That's what your body gives you to protect yourself. Your gut's going to tell you, I don't know, this doesn't sound right. The other thing is they're going to try to do something like, they're going to say, hey, why don't we FaceTime? You can FaceTime now on your phone. They're going to say that to you, and you'll make a plan. Okay, I'll FaceTime you tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then when you go to FaceTime, you're going to be ready. Your hair's going to be done. You're going to be ready to FaceTime. But when you go to FaceTime, you might hear them saying, hey, are you there? Are you there? But it's going to be a black screen. You're going to say, I'm here. I can't see you. They're going to make an excuse up. Oh, what was wrong with your phone? There's something wrong with. There's nothing wrong with your phone. They do that on purpose. They don't want you to know who they are. When you start seeing that, no, it's no good. And also, last thing is, don't send money. As soon as they ask you for money, what's going to happen? You're going to be in this relationship, and they're going to say something like, listen, say, why don't we meet in Florida? Why don't we go here together? Why don't we meet and go on a trip? They're going to say, sure. Right before you make your plans, they're going to come back to you. Oh my God, I had a fire at my house. I lost a lot of my belongings. I'm really down and out right now. I don't know, I need somebody to help me. They're going to ask you for money. They're going to have an excuse to ask you for money. Don't give them any money. You should know when that stuff starts to happen, as soon as they start to ask for money, just be cautious that it might be a scam. All right, let's see if this thing goes. All right. So this is just, I like this. So this is through the Department of Justice. They put this video out.
My name is Kevin. I'm a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations here in the Los Angeles
I
area.
work with them too. I was on their task force
Assigned to
before.
the cybercrime
I ended up staying with the FBI,
incident
but they
response
do really good
team. We
work.
received a call from our attaché's office in Toronto, Canada. The attaché's office had explained to us that they had received information from a local bank in Toronto. The bank had reported that an American citizen in the Los Angeles area was sending money to a money mule in the Toronto area. Based on the information that our attaché had provided to us, we traveled to the victim's house here in the Los Angeles area. The victim had recorded the conversations with the suspect on a couple of occasions. This proves very helpful when it comes to prosecution point. We can always play that recording back to the jury for them to hear how this particular scammer impacted this particular victim.
I just hope you understand that that's the only way I can send the money.
Why do you want to make it so difficult for me? Is it gonna be fine? Is it gonna be nice? When I told you what I want, you are helping me, and I said, okay, this is how I want it. Then why do you want to make this an issue?
The pot at the end of the rainbow was going to be so wonderful, the way he presented this whole story to me, what our lives would be like together, and how much we had in common. And it was, both of us having lost a spouse, and now we're going to start the rest of our lives together. I just couldn't see straight.
Look, there go the Millers again.
I come from a generation who trusted most people.
You guys are the generation of respect. That's what I call
it. We
it.
didn't assume
The last
everyone was
generation of
bad or
respect.
guilty until they proved themselves innocent. But in today's dating world, you must assume everyone is a scammer until they prove that they're not.
That's right.
It was a perfect storm. My husband had died 2 years earlier. I was retired. And then COVID hit. And so the next 2 years, I'm stuck at home.
There was a huge increase during COVID because people were stuck at home.
Having somebody to talk to and have a connection with. I went on a seniors dating site. There were lots of men's faces that came up that were, okay. And this one guy, he just looked like a nice, decent man. He actually reminded me a little of my late husband in his eyes and his smile, so I was kind of drawn to that. There are many worldwide networks of scammers who have different scripts they work from, but there are common red flags to always look for. He's new to online dating. He doesn't have a lot of pictures to send you. That's because he's using someone else's pictures.
Exactly.
He wants to know all about your friends and family, not because he cares. It's so he knows if you're going to talk to other people about him who could warn you to stay away. He works outside the country. It could be on an oil rig in the Indian Ocean or in the military.
The military is a big one right now.
contractor in the Middle East. It's always something exotic because then his story can get complicated and confuse you. I wish I knew this before I ever started going online to meet someone. I assumed he was honest and genuine. He spent months texting me 3 to 4 times a day and calling me to establish our relationship. You're already sucked in.
He's really
to this
just fishing and
emotional
hooking them.
attachment,
All those
and
calls
that's
are
all
just
they
getting the hook.
need to reel you in and prime you and groom you to the point where they ask for money. That's all this is about. And they know they're not going to get it until they feel they've earned your trust. So they do whatever they need to, tell you whatever you need to hear. So when he started saying things that didn't sound right or make sense, by the time I saw the red flags, I ignored them because I didn't want to be wrong. I wanted to believe the dream. I was already brainwashed to believe everything he told me, just like being in a cult. Once you're there, number one, you don't want to be wrong. You don't want to admit it because you don't want to be wrong. You don't want to feel you've been scammed. You don't want to feel that you've given money that you're never going to get back to a stranger. So you go with it and you make it happen in your head. Whereas all he's doing is setting you up to take your money that you're never going to see again. There's a private Facebook group for victims of romance scammers. And I joined that. And, oh, did that help? Because there were so many women, mostly women, but there were some men who have all been in the same situation, who lost way more money than I did. And going through the exact same feelings of how could they be so gullible? How could they be so stupid? They're smart, intelligent women who count every penny that they're spending. And they got sucked in for, the story might be different, but the end goal was the same. They suck you out of your money and just manipulate your emotions.
You know, I'm oftentimes asked by the victim, you know, what could I have done? In this particular case, we were asked, you know, what could I have done better? In this particular instance, the victim did everything right. Preserved evidence, preserved the communications, which leads me to recommending, if you're to this, if you believe that you're a victim of a romance scam, or if you believe you're a victim of some type of fraud, it's important that you report this. Report it to law enforcement, and make sure that that information is shared, because it's about preventing further victimization of yourself.
All right. Just, again, another personal note. So with this the romance scam, about 3 or 4 months ago, I got a call from a gentleman. It was two sons, and they had a dad. The dad was a pastor or a priest, the ones who can get married. I think it's a priest. Pastor. So he was married, and last August his wife passes away, their mother. And what became a problem was, a short time after the wife passes, they find that dad's on dating sites. He's starting to date, right? He's lonely, he starts to date. And what happens to him is he falls victim to a romance scam. So the sons figure out it's a romance scam, and they get in the way. They call his bank, and the father's stubborn, gets very angry with the sons because he doesn't admit it's wrong. He's ashamed, you know, all those things. So what the family does is they put limits on his Venmo, his Cash App. That's how he was sending the money. So they set it up so that he couldn't do that anymore. And because he worked in the city for a long time, they asked me to go by just to talk to him. So I go to the house, I sit down, I knock on the door, he lets me in. When I come inside, he's sitting at the kitchen table. He got a bunch of papers all scattered out on the table. He's sitting there. I introduced myself. I told him why I'm here, why I was there, and I said, listen, I just want to speak to you. I know you lost some money in a scam, and you were contacting a woman. He goes, yes. He goes, I'm actually trying to send her money right now. He says, but my cards don't work. Cash App doesn't work. He didn't know his kids put the block. I didn't tell him. However, the point I'm trying to make is, like, he knew that he was being scammed. I sat there with him for over an hour. I explained it all to him. I went through his documents. I did the whole thing. By the time I left there, he was convinced. I'm so embarrassed. I was a victim of a scam. He knew he was getting scammed. But what he told me was, hey, you know, I talked to her 9 o'clock in the morning. I talked to her at 10 o'clock. He had a routine with her. So that filled his time, right? So what ended up happening with him is he knew it was a scam. I left there. I called the family. His money was safe. About a month later, they called me back. He went on another dating site, and she was still looking for him. The family got him off that site, but she was still looking. She found him again, re-engaged, same stuff. He started sending her money. So I talked to him on the phone. He basically told me, listen, I know I'm getting scammed, but she talks to me every day, calls me in the morning, calls me at night. So because of where he was, you know, he lost his wife, he was a perfect victim for them. You know what I mean? So he ended up losing some money. I mean, the last time I spoke with him, he said he wasn't going to send her any more money, but, you know, I'll wait another month, see if they call me back, right? But you get to see how much investment's in there if you are in that position, you know? We all get lonely, what have you, but you got to make sure you take care of yourself first. All right, so, all right, hold on 1 second, guys, I'm sorry. Okay, I want to go. What happened? All right, sorry. These things happen. Sorry, guys. All right, here we are. All right, so financial abuse, who to trust? We talked about that. I was talking about earlier, like how it happens to you. It comes through the mail. We talked about that, your mail. On computer, your emails. On your phone, we talked about the text messages you get. TV and radio is where they, you know, you see some of the stuff that's on TV, and some of these sites are questionable. They'll ask you to go buy something there, and then when you go to the websites, you're going to make sure the websites are correct. Because especially when, if you get something through the mail, and I need to talk about the mail, because if you get a letter, you get something through the mail from Bank of America, when you open the letter, Bank of America is a well-established bank, right? He's been in the United States for the longest time. If you look at your letter and it says Bank of's down here, America's up here, it's not all lined up and there's no continuity to these things, it's fake. Look at the letters themselves. I've done it myself. I looked at emails I got, and I'm like, wait a minute, these words aren't even lined up properly. You'll see issues with grammar in the letter. If they can't speak properly, again, these banks, before they send anything out like that, they got somebody that's key to continuity. They're going to make sure Bank of America documents look the same. You're not going to see any of these misprints. A real established place isn't going to do that. So if you ever get directed to websites, or you go, I know my father-in-law lives in town, he likes to shop online, and he goes to these, I go, where'd you buy that from? Oh, I bought it from this website. And I look at the site, I'm like, oh my God, don't ever buy nothing from there again. Because the sites, you know, they'll lead you to these sites that are just pulling your information. You might buy something from that site, and then a week or two later, you're getting all these emails with this junk on there because they got you in queue. So just be careful of that. And again, financial abuse, who do we trust? Again, I'm not telling you not to trust people. I just want you to be aware that when it comes to abuse, I've learned over the years, 34 years in law enforcement, when it comes to money, drugs, or like sex, it can be anybody. It can be me. It can be anybody. It could be the mayor. It could be anybody. We all have our things, and that doesn't, who you are in life doesn't, remove you from being involved in this stuff. So, all right, so we're going to watch another video here that is very informative.
So when you take an Adderall, what happens is you're actually releasing more dopamine into the synapses of your brain, and this is
I have reported many times on older Americans being victims of scam artists, but would you believe that in a growing number of cases, the scammers are trusted friends and family? What you need to know to protect your loved ones is tonight's Don't Waste Your Money report. 74-year-old Arthur Green spent years building his lakeside home. He says recently he was persuaded to sign it over to his granddaughter and was told he could live out his days there.
And all of a sudden, she just like a, I don't know what, snap of the finger, she changed. She got money hungry.
His granddaughter tried to evict him and sell the property.
Arthur was absolutely at risk of homelessness. He was also completely impoverished because this land and house is the only thing of any value he owned in the world.
Dennis Colley-Green's lawyer says financial exploitation of seniors is all too common and often goes unreported. A Consumer Reports investigation finds theft and fraud by loved ones is on the rise.
Caregivers, family members, neighbors, they can use all kinds of tactics to raid their assets.
They can be as obvious as forging signatures on checks, begging for loans that are never paid back, or abusing power of attorney.
When you give power of attorney to somebody, it can give them unfettered access to your accounts. Somebody who misuses those can do real damage, and that's a real problem for the elderly.
Consumer Reports says to help prevent elder abuse, have bank and investment statements sent to a person you trust to monitor accounts, arrange for direct deposit and automatic bill pay, and consult a reputable elder law attorney for advice on wills and limiting power of attorney. Fortunately for Arthur, a legal services program for the elderly he consulted obtained a court order voiding the granddaughter's deed, returning the property to him. If you would like some resources to help prevent financial abuse of the elderly, you can head to our website, wxyz.com. You'll find the story and links.
So with this story, it's sad because it's a relative, right? But that's what I was saying before. It could be anybody, right? So I had a similar. I like to include personal stories when I show these videos. So I had a case of a woman, Italian woman, 89 years old, same deal. Her husband was in his 90s. He passes away. But they operated a tailor shop. And it's where we all went to get our clothes tailored. We go bring our clothes. Everybody in the city in Providence would go there to get their clothes tailored. Husband dies. She maintains the shop. And a young couple starts coming by the shop, getting to know her, like frequenting the shop. Hey, how are you? These two people end up being realtors. The husband fixed the houses, the wife sold the houses. So they got so involved in this woman's life. Her name was Philly. They got so involved in her life that they were taking her to the bank. They were taking her out to eat. Don't get me wrong. They were taking her to all these places she wouldn't have gone, right? But they were doing that to put themselves in a position in her life. And before you know it, this woman that just met her, a realtor, ends up being her power of attorney, right? Power of attorney. Now, by the time I got this case, this woman had she had a large sum of money, right? By the time I got involved in the case, they had her house up for sale. They had her deed the house over to them for $10. And then they had the house up for sale for over $300,000. The house was worth way more than that. In the neighborhood that house was in, they were fixing up one of those neighborhoods, they fixed up the whole neighborhood. And this house was worth a lot of money. So her house was being sold. They had control of all of her bank accounts, all this stuff. Even though they said the reason they took control of, became power of attorney is because she had dementia. So if she had dementia, how could she agree to let you do these things, right? You know what I mean? So this was a thing. So what ended up happening is I get involved in the case. I try to speak to the realtor. They knew I was on the case. They took the woman. They took her, and we couldn't find her. We had no idea where she was. So now I'm thinking they know I'm onto the scam. They might try to harm the woman. So we do everything trying to look for her. And what we find out is they placed her in a nursing home. They just dropped her off in a nursing home, and they took off with no money or anything. So I ended up getting warrants for these people, ended up arresting them, all right? So they were arrested, and during that, I worked with the Rhode Island Attorney General's office. We were able to protect her money. So we ended up found maybe almost $500,000 in one bank account, and then we stopped the sale of her house. So we ended up selling the house for her. She ended up getting all the money, and she moved to Italy. She had family in Italy where she's out there now thriving. They said she put on weight. She's doing really well. But the thing is remember I talked about earlier about people coming door to door? That's what I mean. They come door to door, but they knew what they were looking for. They knew a little history on her, and those realtors, they were arrested, but I noticed that they own properties on a lot of streets where there were elders. So I'm still looking into that to see what's going on, but just know, again, it could be anybody. Door to door they come. And this thing with the granddaughter taking control of his house, what happens when that, I've seen that happen before, where they'll have a relative or a friend who gets involved in their life to the point where they control their medication. They control all that stuff. So if you might need medication, just to give you a little bit more pep in your step, they're not going to give it to you because they want to keep your head in a fog, right? Or they over-medicate you. They over-medicate you to the point where you're just out of it. right? And that's when they're going to go and put themselves in this position. They're going to put a pen in your hand and say, sign this, all right? So we're going to be cautious of that. Again, we're not going to be paranoid, just aware. All right. I don't know why this thing is doing this, but it is. I don't know what's going on here. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. Here we go. All right. Okay. So skimmers, and we're almost getting to the end, but I'm going to get to the skimmers and helping scammers. All right. I put the skimmers helping scammers. This is another issue we have is with skimmers. And if you don't know what a skimmer is all of us go to the store and we put our cards in the thing and it reads, right? Or you go to the ATM and they got a little thing, you stick your card in there. Even the gas station has them now. So when we were having a problem out there, and I know they had a problem here at one time with it, is they were putting these skimmers, these little devices that go right over the ATM. So when you go and stick your card in that ATM, it's not a inlet from the bank. It's these scammers that'll put them on there. And what they were doing is, once you put your card in there and pull it out, it got all your information, right? And then with the banks, sometimes they'll put a little pin camera around the edge or somewhere near the ATM. So now you swipe your card, they got your information, and then then when you put your passcode in, they got your passcode. So you know, this card goes with that passcode, all right? So what I do now is any ATMs I go to, if it has an external thing where you put your card in, I grab that thing and I tug on it, I'll pull on it. I do all this, not touch it, make sure it's real. Especially at the gas stations, because the gas stations, if I put one of these skimmers on there Friday night and just leave it there, I'll come pick that up 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Imagine all the people that put their cards in there. That little skimmer have no idea it's fraudulent. I'm pulling all those numbers. So just something to keep you safe. When you see those things, I don't care if people look at you funny. Who cares? Grab that thing. Because I do it. I grab it. I make sure it's real. People will look at you funny, but you got to protect yourself. All right, so know these skimmers, this is another way, electronic way they're using technology to steal your information. So we're going to watch a little video. These videos, I don't know why it keeps doing that. Am I on Wi-Fi? Let me see if I'm still on Wi-Fi. Yeah. All right, here.
Nigel Rattler went to this convenience store to get a snack.
I was just trying to get chips and a bottle of water.
The Texas woman paid with a credit card, but later noticed a bill that should have been $3.22 was $944. The 25-year-old went back to the 7-Eleven near Dallas to figure out what went wrong.
I'm like, hey, something happened with my card. Let me check the machine and see something. And I just literally lifted it up.
Rattler shot this video as she popped off the credit card skimmer, revealing an identical card reader underneath.
She was like, what? You know, I think it surprised her that she actually found one.
Sergeant Tina Malenfant showed us the skimmer. It's made of a replacement cover that was attached to the real card reader with double-sided tape.
This little unit right here that's on it basically allows for the reading, to read your card, store your card information, and allow it to be transmitted to whatever the suspect has, whether it's a cell phone or a computer, and they can just download
It
all
goes
your
right to an
information
email
right there.
address.
Gas pumps used to be the go-to spot for skimming.
Worst
A single
spots.
compromised pump can capture information from 30 to 100 cards a day. But now crooks are increasingly seeing the advantage of targeting ATMs and any other point-of-sale device.
It's everywhere. It is everywhere.
Adam Colby investigates financial crimes in Texas.
We are seeing this not just in convenience stores, we're seeing this in grocery stores.
Rattler says in hindsight, the card reader did seem a little weird. It was bulkier than normal and stuck out on one side. Experts say you should also be wary if it's hard to insert your chip card in the slot. So if you try to insert your card, doesn't work easily, don't swipe it then.
If you feel any resistance as you're sticking a card in there, get it out of there.
Yeah.
This young mother says she spoke out to prevent others from becoming victims and to get her money back.
I can only just wait for the process and hope that everything comes out all right.
Betty Cross, CBS Austin News.
She should get her money back.
Thank you for watching.
Because
Please
this is
hit the
clearly,
subscribe
it's
button
clearly
and get the
fraud.
latest news by downloading the CBS Austin News app.
All right, what am I doing? I know it's a lot of stuff, But these bad
And we're
guys.
back now with our series Scam You, and an urgent warning after a string of suspected thefts in New York. Police say criminals are using credit card skimming devices at Walmart checkout lines.
And they'll
to try
do
to
it at
steal your
McDonald's
money.
too.
Eva
Sometimes you
Copeland's
give
back
your
with that.
card,
Hey,
they got
Eva.
the thing
Hey,
sitting
Gigi,
right,
pretty
not
much all
out
of
here,
us
but
use
out
a
there we
credit
get it.
card when checking
And they'll be
out at the
skimming your
register,
card
and
right there, and then they
thieves
hand you
are
your
now
card
trying to
back. They
cash
swipe
in
it,
on
they
that behavior,
skim it,
swiping
and then
your
they give it back to you.
information as you swipe your card.
Police say you're watching a crime in real time.
Watch.
3 suspects at a Walmart in Oswego, New York, are allegedly attaching one of these, a credit card skimmer at a checkout. It takes them less than 30 seconds. The 3 allegedly skimming or tampering with point-of-sale terminals by illegally installing equipment like this to try to steal customers' data or PIN numbers. And not only at this location, but other Walmarts in the region too. Working in unison, authorities say they install the skimmers, one on the lookout, in this case, shielding the register with her scarf, while another places the device over the top of the card machine.
You think that all your information is safe, and unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of victims involved in this incident. Multiple Walmart locations, multiple states, multiple counties. I mean, this could be astronomical.
Our Syracuse affiliate WSYR digging into this story from the start, finding cases of this crime happening at 16 different Walmarts in New York and Maine. Police are still actively
A lot of times the
looking for
trends
those
that
3
happen out there
suspects.
come down to
Walmart
us
telling
after.
us
We get
providing
it a little
customers
bit
with a
later.
safe shopping
Like New
experience
York,
is
all
a
that
top
stuff,
priority.
Providence,
Adding,
it'll happen
it is
here,
reviewing
we'll get it a
protocols
year
and
later.
adding enhanced security measures to better protect in-store transactions. Experts say this kind of crime is usually very organized.
It's a very full-scale operation. You have the people who make the devices, then they'll hire a group of people that go into the stores and install the devices.
Yep.
And then you have the people who actually cash out the proceeds, which are the money mules.
Skimming costs consumers more than $1 billion a year, according to the FBI.
Technology makes things sometimes safer and better. They also make it easier for criminals, and they're always working on the next front. We stop them one way, and they find another way to do it.
So what can you do to protect your information? The biggest piece of advice, protect that PIN.
Make sure that you're covering up your PIN as you enter it. Take a look at your statements. There'll be a minimal charge at first to make sure the card works before the stolen data is good, before they actually clone it and use it for a larger purchase.
And another thing to think about, when you go to pay, do a quick scan of the card reader. Look at the other card readers nearby to make sure they all look the same. And if part of the machine looks loose, crooked, or damaged, pick a different machine and a different line. Guys.
Good advice, and always holding that hand. I always hold my hand over. Absolutely. When I'm entering that.
That's what I was saying. Look for those little pin things because it looks like a little dot and it's magnet. It'll stick right there and they can see down. So when you think about they got your information, how do they recreate the cards? What they do is they got a machine, it looks almost like a typewriter, but it got a little handle on it, and they'll buy a plain card with a swipe on the back, with a swipe thing on the back. They insert the card, and the way it works is if you want to put the number 1 on there, you just put it underneath the thing and you stamp the 1 down. And then you turn this little dial to 2, and then you'll stamp the 2 down. And that's what gives you that impression on the card. So they'll have your card information, they just create the card with that little stamp thing, and now they have your credit card, and they could just use it. All right. I don't know why this keeps doing this. All right. So I just wanted to add this crypto thing because I went to a training about 2 months ago, and it was all about Bitcoin. And I didn't know a lot about Bitcoin. I ran into it a little bit when I was doing human trafficking, but I didn't know a lot about Bitcoin. And I guess now with this Bitcoin, they have ATMs. They have an ATM you can use, and then they got this Bitcoin ATM. Bitcoin's like virtual money, what have you. And a lot of scams are being done with this Bitcoin. They're having people, same thing, they'll give them either it's a grandparent scam, romance scam, either way they have to send money. But what they're having them do now is they're having them put this money in these Bitcoin things because it's really untraceable. It's all digital, it's not real, you know. I mean, you're putting real money in, but for them, they can just get the money. So I looked at it, I said, I've never seen a Bitcoin ATM ever. So I went to a training, it was on a Friday. I came back home to Fairhaven and I went to that gas station down the street over there, the Seasons. It used to be the Cumberlands on Route 6. I went there, and when I went in to buy something, I looked, and there was an ATM, and I saw a Bitcoin ATM. I couldn't believe it. I saw there's one there, and I saw a woman standing at the terminal. And I could see she's frantic. She's on the phone like this. She's obviously getting instructions. She's scrambling around on the keypad. And what they told me in the training is, what they'll do is you'll see a QR box, like this QR code thing that you can scan with your phone. You take a picture of it, and then it goes into your phone. I saw that QR code on the screen, so I couldn't believe it. I said, I didn't know anything about Bitcoin, but now I'm learning it. And look, the first day I'm watching somebody actually go through this. So I'm dressed just like I am now. I go, ma'am, and I can see she's in distress. Ma'am. She's waving me off. I said, listen, that's a scam. I said, I need to speak to you, police officer. She waved me off. She was so focused, she wouldn't even talk to me. So I went to the counter. I gave the gentleman my card. I said, listen, if she comes back here with the police and that's a scam, I think that woman's being scammed. She's being scammed, please call me. I'll point her in the right direction. But just know that, look, the first day I get that training, I come back and I see it. The next day, the following day, I come to work and they had a clerk from a store arrested, a young girl, because they got her on this. They called her and said, hey, we're going to shut down the utilities of your store by tomorrow morning if you don't take money out and pay this thing. The girl she was a young kid, she fell for it. She took money out of the safe, she went to this Bitcoin thing, and she did the whole thing. But the actual store thought she stole the money, so they arrested her. When I came in the next day, I said, listen, I just had a training yesterday on this that explained the whole scam she went through, so we released her. I didn't end up charging her because she was a victim of this scam. So I'm going to show this here, this Bitcoin thing, just because now it's becoming relevant in Fairhaven. We actually have one right there.
He's like all bent down, trying to put $100 bills in.
We're taught that if you see something suspicious,
And I could hear the people on the phone, so I'm getting money on my account. I'm like, ma'am, do you know the people you're talking to? And she's like, no.
to say something.
She was scared. The lady was just really, really scared.
So Thursday afternoon, when Mindy Jordan saw a woman in her 80s depositing thousands of dollars into this Bitcoin machine,
She had $44,000 cash money in her hands.
she knew
$44,000.
she
She's in her
couldn't turn a
80s.
blind eye.
I said, ma'am, I believe you're being scammed. And she said, no,
Same thing I
it's the
did.
bank. I gotta pay this back.
When that didn't work, she called 911.
And you said there's people on FaceTime with her? Yes, and they're like, show us the screen. I'll keep putting the hundreds in.
Moments later,
$23,000 already.
Where's she at right now?
Sergeant James Stewart walks into the Chevron gas station off of I-30 in White Settlement.
Hey, ma'am.
Yes.
Can I talk to you for a second?
Please, I have the bank on the phone.
Okay,
That's
let
what
me
that
talk to
woman
who
was
you're
saying
talking
to
to
me.
on the bank.
I'm in danger.
Sergeant
Same
Stewart
thing.
takes
She's
the
so
phone.
focused.
Yeah, who is this? No, you're not.
And begins going in on the scammer.
Know what you are trying to do, Christine? Just click on
You still haven't gotten her name right, you freaking moron. This one was just a couple of years older than my own mom.
You
And
see
I
how
can
your
imagine
emotions
somebody
get
doing
involved,
this to
right?
her.
You see somebody
Mindy
being
and Sergeant Stewart intervened right on time,
No, she is not going to click. She is not going to click it.
saving the woman thousands.
We got her money back.
A rare, happy ending to
Very rare.
this fraud scheme,
The only thing that would have made it better is if I could have put him in jail.
and a cautionary tale for others. In White Settlement, I'm Janelle Ford.
So we had this happen in Cranston, Rhode Island, and they, like
He's
me,
like
we
all
really
bent
don't handle
down,
this a lot.
trying
So they weren't sure what to do. They actually went to the store, and they had them open the Bitcoin machine. They opened it, and the woman lost $10,000. She put $10,000 in. They got the $10,000 back out of the machine. However, we've learned now you cannot do that. That's not something they're going to do in the future. It's just because, that money's been, you need warrants to get that money out of there. You just can't go take it. But they didn't know at the time, and they're just thinking in good faith they're going to get the money out. And they did get the money out. But you're a victim of fraud like that, sooner or later you'll get your cash back if they know you've been scammed. Sometimes they require you to make an arrest before you get reimbursed, which is tough because we rarely make arrests, because a lot of this is anonymous. That's why these trainings are important, because because it is anonymous and you may not get your money back. You need to know how to stay safe.
Because I thought you said the Bitcoins were untraceable.
Yeah, the Bitcoins are hard to trace. But this is, Bitcoin's like virtual, like it's in the sky, but she actually put cash in there. She was like they're saying she was depositing the hundreds. This woman put $10,000 in cash in there, so they were able to get that money back. But in the future, we learned you can't do that. You can't open that thing to get the money out. That's not. You got to go through a process to get your money back.
So how do they go into the machine and get their money?
The bad guys, because from that Bitcoin thing, it gets sent somewhere.
Okay, like electronically.
Electronically.
So who gets the cash?
The cash goes to Bitcoin and they get the cash. They get the, yeah, I know it's a lot of stuff. Okay. But Bitcoin right now, if you look at it, I forget what it is. One Bitcoin is worth almost, I think, $40,000 right now. So Bitcoin's very, very, yeah, I'm the same way. So I want to just give you an idea of what we do to try to catch the bad guys, because we do try to catch the bad guys. So yes, so I had a case in Providence. I had a group of guys. I had a retired employee from the fire department came and said, hey, I just noticed my bank account and somebody moved $90,000 from he had a savings. They moved $90,000 out of his savings and he lost the money. So these people went to the bank. They were making all these withdrawals. So I looked into the bank transactions. And what ended up happening is I looked at his contact information. And on his contact information, there was a phone number there. And the federal government ran that phone number, and what we found is that phone was given to a bad guy because he was working with the police. So we knew who he was, and he was a fraudster. Right. So now I go and I listen to the recording. They were trying to cash checks of like $8,000 a piece. When they went to cash one of the checks, they made them call. Well, we're going to call the owner of the account. When they called the owner of the account, that phone number was changed. The contact number was the bad guy's number now. He changed it from the actual owner of the account. And I could hear his voice. I can hear him pretending. He's an African kid. He's a really, really smart kid. But I can hear him like, yes, it's me. And, you know, he's pretending to be this guy. They gave him the money. He ended up getting, him and his crew got $3.1 million out of the city of Providence because they had we had our bank account number. And they were using that account to do all this scam, writing bad checks. He ends up going to jail, gets out. And when he got out, I go to the city of Providence. I said, you need to change your bank account numbers. These guys have your numbers, and they're going to do the same fraud. Before he got out, I started listening to his prison calls because I knew what was going to happen. And I could hear him and his co-conspirators saying, hey, we got their bank account numbers. That's why I went to Providence. I said, they have your bank account numbers. I heard him saying it on the phone. You need to change it. But Providence has so many vendors that get paid out of that account. And it's been there for so long, they couldn't get a new account because all these vendors come out of that account. They'd have to change all these accounts with people. They kept the same account. And when these guys got out, they just started going again. They got another $47,000 before I caught him again. But when I caught him again, this time we put the kid in jail. We ended up getting him, and we found that he was working in connection with an employee from the bank that was screenshotting people's personal information, giving it to him, and that's how we did it. That's very rare. I don't want you to be nervous about the banks. The banks right now do a phenomenal job. They recognize this stuff. You go to the teller with somebody that they don't know, they're going to call the police. They're going to say, hey, she comes in here every Friday to cash her, like Philly, the woman I told you. She used to come to the bank every week to cash her check. She wanted cash in hand. She starts showing up with the realtor, and the realtor's talking for her. The tellers say, hey, who is this woman? And that kind of alerted us, right? So we do catch the bad guys. It's just hard because they do everything so anonymous, all right? So this is just, this is what they did in Los Angeles to try to catch these bad guys.
If you're a man who makes at least 150 grand a year and you're still embarrassed to take your shirt off,
these aren't my videos, but I'm hooking into your Wi-Fi.
Tonight for senior citizens in Orange County. A scammer is stealing thousands of dollars from victims.
Detectives say one person lost $30,000. Then a few days later, a woman in Los Alamitos became the target. KCAL's Michelle Geely has more on this warning.
The suspect was telling us kind of how he wanted the money. He said that he wanted it in a bag or in a box.
Los Alamitos police detective Stephen Smith
Cranston
showed us
Police,
how
I believe,
he and
did this too.
88-year-old Darlene Upton made a bait
like
package using a brown bag to make the thief believe it was stuffed with thousands of dollars.
The person coming thinks it.
The senior citizen was the victim of a scammer last week. Police say she answered an email claiming to be from PayPal, saying she was owed a refund.
Darlene Upton called the number and got a man on the phone who officials say eventually took control of her computer, convinced her to move $20,000 from one bank account to another, and then instructed her to withdraw the money and leave the cash on her porch in a brown bag.
I took the bait initially, and then when I realized what it was, the bank helped me call the police. Were you on the street the other night?
These are some of the officers who quickly mobilized, along with others from Cypress Police, fanning out across 2 cities at the bank and Upton's neighborhood to be ready for the suspect who said he was coming to collect the cash.
I started talking to Darlene and said, okay, we're going to go back to your house if you're okay with that. I'm going to come inside, you're going to call this guy, and we're going to walk you through it. She did a great job.
Detective Smith placed the bag stuffed with newspaper on the porch, had the victim go upstairs, and he waited, watching out of the windows in the living room. Not long after, the suspect showed up.
I noticed he had a blue mask on and gloves. He was hanging around right there, and then he slowly walked up here to the bag.
But when he picked it up, something didn't feel right. As he walked away, Detective Smith arrested him.
We have multiple agencies that are having similar issues, so we're working together as a team and trying to...
I would love to get somebody like that. I've never done that, but... so that's a great,
Salamitos, Michelle Geely, KCAL
example
News.
for her of how she was able to recover her money. But most of the times, it's very hard to recover the money. So I have a woman right now that was defrauded, and she was probably defrauded by a friend, about $40,000. And out of that $40,000, she's concerned. She says, how much of that money am I going to get back? And I know from the $40,000 she was sending to her friend, I can't get any of that back. However, the friend defrauded her on her credit card, took her credit card, sat in her house, and my victim is an older woman, and she said, I'm going to put Cash App and Venmo on your phone to make it easier for you to pay your bills. My victim said, yeah, okay, because it's her neighbor. She lived with 28 years. They've known each other. So she allowed her to do it. But while this woman was putting the Cash App thing on my victim's phone, she was also putting it on her phone. So when the victim, when she was alone, she was able to access the victim's accounts, bank accounts, because she had Venmo and Cash App on there. So when she did that, she ended up spending about $10,000. I could charge her with that because I found the transactions. I had bank records, I had all these things. So that money she was made whole with, because a credit card company can give you the money back if they think you've been defrauded. But it's very rare. When you give money away overseas and then they take it, it's very rare to get your money back. All right, so these are some of the things I put on here because this is important. Every person is entitled to a free credit report. Every year you get a free credit report. So TransUnion, Experian, and what's the other one? Equifax. One of them is not working now, but these credit agencies, they all give you a free credit report. That's what's on one of your papers there. I put the website and everything you need is all of this stuff I gave you on the handout. Get that. Get your credit report for this year, because if you haven't had one for a long time and you haven't seen it, it's free. Get it. And then when you see it, if you look at it, if you see anything on there, like if you got a Home Depot credit card on there, $15,000 balance, but you don't go to Home Depot ever, that's a problem, right? So that's why you got to look on there, because I'm telling you, you'd be surprised at the stuff that's on your credit report. So if you get something like that, call Home Depot. Call them directly, and then they'll ask you to go to the police. But call the creditor first. If you see anything on it that doesn't belong there, call that creditor first. They'll send you a form to fill out, and then you take that form in your police report and you send it back to them. That form will be your fraud affidavit, they call it, all right? So if that happens to you, get your credit report and check it. The other thing, we're almost done, so I'm trying to get all this stuff in. So the other thing I remember is your mail. If you get bills, I get a bill, I know when my electric bill comes in. I know when my other bills come in. You know what time of the month. If you don't get that bill, if every month for years you've been getting it at the third of the month or whatever, you don't get that bill, it's a problem. Your mail they might have fished through the thing, got your mail, changed your address, now your mail's going somewhere else. Somebody got electricity in another place in your name. So if you don't get your bills, that's another sign you could be defrauded. So keep note of that. Bills you get all the time, you should get, all right? So again, so check your credit report. Shredding documents. You can shred stuff. Let me go one more slide. You can shred documents. Shred your documents. Staples, if you don't have a shredder, I bought a small shredder. If you got patience, you can put letter through there. They're hard with the little small ones. But if not, you can go to Staples and they'll shred your stuff for you. Because just know, again, your trash, I know people go and do trash pulls. They'll go through your trash. Get your bills. It has all your account information on there. It makes it easier for them. So in Rhode Island, how we report a crime is we'll report it to Providence Police, but we got an agency called Officer Healthy Agent. They call it OHA. You report it to them or you go to the AG's office. But here in Mass, that's the other thing I gave you right there is the how to report. In Massachusetts, I did a little research. This is what you're going to do. You're going to go to your Attorney General's Elder Hotline, and you can report it there. But if you're away from home and say you're not around here, or if you just want to report it to the federal government, you just go to the FBI's. They got an internet crime unit. It's called IC3. And you'll probably get my unit if you got that around here, because we're attached to them, and I get a lot of those complaints when they come in. So you can report it to the FBI too. All right. And then you got other agencies I put here. The FTC you can do to report scams. And sometimes even if you don't think you're going to get cash back or relief from it, it's good to report them, because that's when we know there's an issue here. Because if you report it and then we get a report from somebody else, now we know we got a problem. We're seeing a trend. And a lot of time in law enforcement, we don't get the cues until it's too late. You know, so when people report, that's how we get those. We know there's a problem. And that's what I gave you there. Okay, just in summary, you know, we want to be cautious of strangers, right? And people we know, right? We don't want to open any emails from people or places you don't know. You don't want to share any of your personal information with people who are not trusted. You can share it with people you trust. My thing is direct deposit is great, because you know your checks are going in the bank. It's not in your mailbox and nobody can take it. And the other thing is with your, I forgot this guys. With your taxes, the IRS will give you a PIN on your tax information. I have a PIN on mine. I can't do my taxes, even my accountant, unless I know the PIN. My accountant won't even do it. You'll get it every year. It's free. You can get that PIN, and that allows you to do your taxes. Nobody else can do your tax unless they know that PIN, and it changes every year. All right, so that's something that's free to you. Also,
what about people that do their taxes online? Because I don't have a PIN.
Yeah, but you got to set it up for your taxes to be done with a PIN. If you set it with the IRS, you can do it online with a PIN. They're going to just ask you to give you a PIN when you do it online. It's if you call the IRS and say, I want to have a PIN number attached to my tax return, they'll put it on there. Also, a credit freeze. Sometimes I do this from time to time. I'll freeze my credit. When I got divorced, I froze my credit. I don't want nobody using my credit, right? You do those things. You freeze your credit. But it's a very easy app on your phone where you can take it off. You want to apply for a credit card, take it off. You want to freeze it again, you put it, just a click of a button. And that'll keep people from accessing, using your credit for anything. So even if you were exposed, you got that on there, you can kind of protect yourself, all right? Again, we talked about keep track of your mail. Should your bills come in, remember that missing mail is a sign. And we talked about this, getting a copy of your credit report. So all those things, it'll help you give you a better idea of how you are and how much of your stuff has been exposed. And bam, that check right there means you've been trained. So you guys have all been trained in this stuff, the fraud stuff. And I didn't say this at the beginning, but I say it at the end. I do this training at these places because I'm looking for more eyes, right? I'm looking for your eyes. And like soldiers for the army, I call it. Because now you guys can protect your friends. You can protect your family. If you might be sitting there and you hear your friend going through like that lady frantic, and you're going to say, wait a minute. I know what this is. That's not what it is. So that's kind of one of the purposes of this training is to train you guys so you can train others. You can help others, all right? So it's kind of selfish of me. I didn't tell you that at the beginning, but it's like making you a vampire without telling you. But I did, because I think we can make a difference. No, you don't get a badge. You don't. I should have some, right? Maybe that's what I should do at the end. That's a good idea, like a little badge or something. But thank you for listening. And if you guys need anything, I'm the only Duarte in the Providence Police. If you don't feel comfortable reaching out to the feds or whatever, you can always call there and leave a message for me, and they'll give it to me, all right? And I'll help you, or at least point you in the right direction, all right? All right, that's it. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. It was really good.
Really good. Thank you. I know it's long a little bit, and I go chat a lot.
Very thorough and very good.
Good, all right. I want to protect this community. Thank you all online, too.